Next up, we have the incredibly talented Gretchen Menn. Gretchen, come on up. How you doing?
Great. How are you, Brad?
Good. So I'm really excited to talk to Gretchen because I keep on hearing about this new record that she's working on, and it sounds so intriguing to me. It's based on Dante's Inferno?
It is, yeah. The record was actually released a few weeks ago. It's called Abandon All Hope, and it is a concept album based on Dante's Inferno.
Okay. Sorry, these microphones, you got to get them nice and
okay.
close. So tell me, the instrumentation is sort of unique on the album.
Yeah, well, I wanted to combine what I love about both rock music and more like classical, romantic 20th century music, because I love a lot of different types. Those were my two kind of most primary and most fundamental aspects that really grabbed me in music. And so I wanted to incorporate the electric guitar into a more compositional context and use other instruments. And so I studied music in college, and then I spent the last few years making a more intensive study of composition and orchestration so that I could blend some of what I love about classical music and instrumentation and orchestration with some of what I love about rock music, sort of the visceral energy and aggression.
I don't know if I have this correct, but didn't your sisters play with you on this record?
I have one sister, Kirsten, but it would be smart. It's totally understandable to think I'd have two because she played both the keyboards and she sang. So she's got enough talent for more than one person.
And this features like a full-on string section too?
Yeah, it's a string quartet and guitar, bass, drums. Kirsten also did the soprano lines. There's not lyrics, but she did kind of like this operatic soprano lines that weave in and out in a few places, and then classical piano as well.
How were you inspired by Dante to do this?
Well, it's interesting because the concept is not my concept. Actually, it was Michael Melenda's concept, but he brought it to me.
Michael Melenda, the editor of Guitar Player magazine.
Exactly. And he brought it to me at a time that I actually didn't know Michael very well at all. I knew of him, and I had met him very briefly. But it was right after I had finished my first album, Hail Souls, and I had started thinking about blending my love of literature with music, and I had started thinking actually about writing sort of a concept album based around a piece of literature. And I had actually been thinking of like J.D. Salinger or F. Scott Fitzgerald. Hadn't decided on anything yet because my album was still brand new, but I was just thinking about the next one. Yep. And then Michael sat me down and we had a cup of tea together, and I had actually kind of braced myself because I didn't know him to get another lecture on that I needed to sing or I needed to do more pop sensibility music. And so he brings out this sheet of paper and it says, the date of it, which actually it turned out was almost like to the day 5 years after the album pre-release party. Michael Melenda, Gretchen Menn, Dante's Inferno, A Journey in 11 Different Musical Moods. And I just remember it was one of the few moments of my life that I can say that all at once it was like goosebumps and I know what I'm going to be doing for the next few years. So he could not have presented something to me that was more exactly up the lines of what I wanted to be doing.
So this, for you out there, I mean, this wasn't a record that was done in a garage and just banged out. We're talking 3 or 4 years of arranging and work and everything.
Yeah, I had been studying with a composition teacher, but I continued to, and I focused all of my studies towards the realization of this album. And so, it was a number of years of just composing it, working on orchestration. My coffee table, I think, has like 6 orchestration manuals on it. So I had written for string quartet before, but trying to actually write better for string quartet, which I'm always trying to work on. So it was a solid 3.5 years of composition, and then a lot of time to get everything recorded as well and mixed.
Well, that said, this might seem like a dumb question, but what was in your mind the greatest challenge of realizing this music?
That's a great question. I think what was the greatest challenge, but then also one of the greater rewards was I had always approached music and writing music. I say that as though I've put out tons of albums. I haven't. Up until that point, I had always written music in a very kind of free, like, okay, this amuses me. I find this beautiful. This would be interesting. Let me try this. But to have something where from the very get-go, I have a goal that the music is supposed to evoke something. Like, so for instance, one of the pieces on the record is Limbo. And I realized, well, how would I evoke limbo musically? And I'm thinking, well, the cornerstone of Western music is tension and resolution. And if limbo basically doesn't allow either, I have to make something that sounds like a complete piece of music and feels satisfying as a piece of music while moving a lack of resolution to another lack of resolution. So that was an incredible challenge. And I definitely remember sitting down and going like, how am I going to do this? But I learned so much by approaching things in a different way.
Yeah. I mean, I always think that sort of the best moments that I've had as a musician is like actually practically doing something. Practice is essential and learning is essential, but there's nothing like actually having to do something to really make you learn a skill.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a natural student. I could sit around and study all the time and never feel prepared to do something. So sometimes it takes a little push for me. Otherwise, I'd always feel unworthy of the project that I need to be working on. And so it was really helpful with both my first album and with this album to have some outside force say, hey, get it together now.
So I'd be remiss not to bring this up, but everybody here might be getting a little sick of me mentioning another record that's coming out. Just yesterday we released She Rocks Volume 1. It's a record I co-produced with Steve Vai, and Gretchen has a track on that, and we're really thrilled to have her. It's more of your funky electric side, though. Can you tell us a little bit about Scrap Metal, the track that's on She Rocks Volume 1?
Yeah, so Scrap Metal it's the opening track of my first record, Hail Souls. And it's sort of, I guess, on the heaviest end of the spectrum of that album. And that one, I had written, and I was actually working with Jude Gold, who also I played in a band with.
The great guitar player with
Jefferson Starship
now, yeah.
Yeah, amazing guitar player, dear friend. And I had actually, a key part of it, the opening part of it was these slapped harmonics. Jude does this incredible slapping stuff on the guitar, and I sat him down. I'm like, show me how to do that. And he would go bong, and I'd go bing. And I realized that every time I would hit the string, for some reason I was getting harmonics, no matter what I did. I couldn't not get a harmonic. And I'm going like, Jude, what am I doing wrong? And he's going like, just go with it. That's amazing. Like, that's so cool. And I realized I could get arpeggios actually all the way up the string by the pickups. And so he was like, don't worry about doing the slap funky stuff that I do. Like, do your weird little harmonic thing. So that ended up being the opening for it, and kind of goes throughout. And then the rest is just sort of heavy, chunky riffs and arpeggios throughout. And all sorts of guitar goodness.
So are you going to do performances of your new record? I mean, are you planning to perform with a string quartet?
I would definitely like to. My hope and my plan is to do that right now. Just the number of rehearsals and budget to get together to be able to do this live it feels a little daunting right now. That's not to say I don't want to do it, and I'm not trying to figure out how to do it. But one thing I know I definitely, at least at this point, I don't want to do is the idea of playing to backing tracks would only encourage people to misunderstand my intention with the album, which is that it's not guitar plus other instruments. It's guitars within an ensemble, and it would be just as ridiculous for me to do it that way as to take any other piece for an ensemble and take one player out of it and put them live with marginalized backing tracks. So my hope is to be able to do it with live instruments, and it'll just be the time and budget to get that together.
Well, I would say don't abandon hope,
Do.
You'll be able to do. Anyways, you guys should check it out. You can probably get it on Amazon.
It's on iTunes. It's on various online digital distributors. Not all of them. There are a couple I boycotted just because I believe that artists, for the most part, are practically doing a public service, and to spend, whatever it is, $10 to $20 for the efforts of someone's lifetime is something that I'm happy to do with the artists I like. So I like to go with the distributors that actually I feel like do good for artists. You can also get it directly on my website, which is just GretchenMenn.com. And there is actually a download that includes all of the album art.
So the record is called Abandon All Hope. Lovely Gretchen Menn, great guitar player. You guys definitely need to check out that. And her performance on She Rocks Volume 1, too. Thanks, Gretchen.
Thank you so much for having me, Brad.
Yes.
And thanks for having me on the album. It was a real honor.
Oh, thank you.